Okay, now that we have created functions, let us now talk about risks. So what is a risk? A risk is a grouping of one or more conflicting functions that presents an opportunity for physical loss or financial fraud or process disruption and productivity loss. Okay, so there are, like we discussed earlier, there are about 5 type of risks that you may have if there are any risks in your system. Okay, one is the first and most important one is your financial risk that you may have if there are any conflicts in your system. Okay, for a functionality for a user. Now, the financial risks, they actually, they impact your financial reporting and the accuracy and timeliness of your numbers, the financial numbers. Okay. The other risk that you have, if you have any risks in your system, is operational. Okay. These are the type of risks that basically impacts your day-to-day business and productivity. Other risk you have is regarding compliance. Okay, so these types of risks lead to non-compliance and procedural issues and ethical violations types of problems for you. Fourth one is reputational risk that you may have, because these kinds of risks basically impact your company's brand image and company's reputation. That could have a major impact on your company's business. Okay. And the last one type of risk that you have is a strategic one, because that impacts your business results also. And when the business results get affected, whatever business plans the company may have put in place, they get affected too. Okay, they tend to get deviate from it. Okay, now let us see how click on access risks and take a sample look at the risks. Okay, so let's click on this one and let's say open. Okay, so what is the definition of a risk? It's a combination of two conflicting function IDs. Okay, that may result in, when the user has this conflicting access, it may result in financial fraud in your company. Okay, that's a possibility that the user may cause fraud. Okay, may disrupt your business processes. Okay, that kind of thing. Now let's take a look at the screen. Okay, what do we have? What makes up risk? Okay, so okay, the first thing that you have a risk type. So what is a risk type? So if you drop down, so you have 3 types of risks here. Okay, what we discussed earlier, the 5 types of risks are theoretical. Okay, what can happen to your company in an organization. Okay, but technically, how are those theoretical risks impacted in the system by what you have in the system? Okay, so you have 3 types of risks: segregation of duties, critical action, and critical permission. Segregation of duties is the main here, right? Grouping of one to many functions. So for a risk, there has to be at least 2 functions that conflict with each other. But you could have many, okay? You could have 3 also. 3 functions that could conflict with each other, or 4 functions that conflict with each other. Okay. So how many functions does a risk contain will depend on your requirement, business scenario and business requirements. Okay. So basically a SOD, segregation of duties, is a grouping of one to many functions that when combined, okay, create a segregation of duties conflict. Okay, so the combination of functions, they create a SOD conflict. Okay, the second risk type that you have is critical action. Now this is basically a single function risk, okay, that would contain transaction codes and authorizations that will report a critical action violation when reported. What could be that example for a critical action? Something that is going to cause immense damage to your system, right? For example, SU01 could be a critical action because anybody who has SU01 can create a user ID with whatever roles they want, so they can create a user ID that for example, that will allow and assign a role that will allow the person to create a vendor and then also allow that person to pay that vendor, make the payments. So SU01 could be defined as a critical transaction codes, okay, critical action. Okay, so that is the another type of risk that you have. Okay, somebody having critical transaction codes. The third risk type that you have is critical permission. Now this again is a single function risk containing authorizations that will report a critical permission violation when reported. Okay, so for example, the debug change access and debug, right? That could be your critical permission. So somebody who has s_develop with 02 or 06 can technically go into the debug mode and manipulate your data in the system. Okay, so that comes under critical permission. Okay, so you have three types of risks, and every risk is also again associated with the business process. So the business process is something that you'll see in many places. Okay, you have it in ARA, you will have it in BRM, you also have it in when you do mitigation controls, then you also have it under ARM also. Okay, so that is what you define in SPRO. Then you give the description of the risk, and then you specify what is the risk level. Okay, high, medium, low. So these are again configured in the SAP backend, the GRC system, backend system. Okay, and the status is active or not, inactive. And then you can go and add the two functions, okay, that conflict with each other. In this case, BS2 is conflicts the functions, the transaction codes that are in BS02 or the authorizations that are in BS02 conflict with the transaction codes in BS11. Okay, rule set. Then you define which rule set this belongs to. Okay, so risk IDs are tied with rule sets. Functions are tied with the risk ID. Okay, so that is why you create the functions first, then you create the risk IDs, and then you tie those risk IDs to whatever rule set that you want to run the risk analysis report against. Okay, and then you also have to assign risk owners. Okay, so we'll come to this next, okay, when we set when you're going to set this up, because there's another configuration that you would need to do for this. Okay, we'll come to that. We'll create our own risk ID, risk owner ID, and then come here. Okay, so let us close this. All right, so let us copy the risk IDs that we are going to use. We are going to use B001. Okay, so make a copy of that. And we'll create our own also. Okay, so let's say let's not copy, we cannot copy this, I guess. Let's create one. Okay, so let's take the same ZB001. Say ZSP B001, segregation of duties. Let us say basis. Okay. What is B001? Let's open this and let's say give the same description because let's not get confused as to what we are doing. And the risk is medium and the status is active and you don't have anything description. Okay, here you can give the control also, control objective also. Okay, so let's go and add the business functions, right? So let's, our two business functions that we have in this case is ZSP02, BS02 and BZSP, BS11. Let's go and add our functions that we created. ZSP. Okay, let's go this. So what is the two we need? BS11 and BS02. Okay, so BS11 and BS02. So let's go add those BS11 and BS02. No, we need BS11. Okay. On save. Now the rule set, let's click on rule set. Okay, click on add and let us add two rule sets here. Okay, one is our global and then let us add also ACE rules. So this risk ID is going to be in two rule sets. So when I run a report with a risk analysis report, I can use ACE rules and this risk ID will be part of that report. Okay, if there are any conflicts because of these two functions. Okay, so we are going to come to risk owners next. Okay, so let's go and close this. Oh, save this first and close it. All right, now let's go and create for ZB008. Okay, B008. Okay, let's go and create. And this is a high. Okay, so let's go and say ZSP B008. Segregation of duties, business processes again basis. And let's say basis utilities, and transport administration. Okay, then let's see this as high. Click on add. Okay, so you need, so I'm going to, okay, so what are the two functions for this? BS12 and BS04. So we had our own ZSP BS04, right, and BS12. Okay, click on OK. So these two functions have come in. Then you go and assign the rule set that this risk is going to belong to. So I'm going to use the one that we created and the global one also. Okay, and then risk owner will, like I said, will come again. Save, close. Okay, so this is how you create a risk ID. I'm going to create the remaining two. Okay, and let's go and create it. Okay, F022, which is F022. Okay, so let's go and create ZSP F022. I'm going to open this because I want to copy the description. And the risk type is medium. So, but we can put that as high, okay? For our reporting purposes, let's put this as high. So this was the function, finance, okay? So let's pick finance, give the description, and let's take this as high. Okay, now click on add. The functions are GL02 and GL03. So let's click on ZSP. Okay, so you have GL02 and then you need GL03. Click on OK. And then assign the rule set. Don't forget to assign the rule sets when you are creating your own risk IDs. Okay, then you say global. And save. Say close. And then we have the last one, F026. Okay, click on create. And close this. Okay. And F026, let me open it because I want to copy the description again. So ZSP F026. Okay, I'm going to copy the description and then you also give the finance and let's say risk medium level is high. Okay, now you can copy the description here also if you want. Add. What are the AP04 and FI06? So ZSP search. What is that? AP04 and then AFI06. Okay, then you create a rule set. Add the rule set that this risk will belong to. Okay, and save. Okay, now let us create one for the custom functions that we created, right? We created two functions. Let's create one. So let's just create one as a new. So zsec 0 1. Okay, what segregation duties? Business processes basis. Let's say description is user administration. Let's say user provisioning. Okay, and let's put the risk as high. Okay, then add your functions. This is a customer that we created, right? You can see that from the description here. Select BS90 and BS91. Okay, click on OK and attach the map the tool set. So again, I'm going to map it to our custom rule set and then the global rule set. Okay, and save. All right. So what we have done is we have created functions and we have created the risks. Now, before we generate the rules, okay, because it's going to take a lot of time, let us go and complete this risk ID creation process, because we did not assign the risk owners for the risks. Okay, so let's do that.